Hello everybody, my name is Lucy and welcome to Books and Brushes. So today I'm doing another tag because apparently it's the tag month. Who knew? Today I'm going to be doing the reread tag. I think that's what it's called. You'll see it in the title. You already know the name. As per usual, I got this tag from Kaz over at Cats and Camera because she is like my tagging fairy godmother and I have been commanded to do this tag when I asked. There's a caveat to that. Either way, I have been blessed to do said tag and so I'm going to get to it. I really want to do this one because I like this topic. It's short and sweet and I need to get this video out before I go on holiday. Let's get to the question. So question 1 is, where do you sit on the scale of rereading? Do you almost never read? Do you read all the time? Where are you on the scale? I decided I might just make a graphic scale and put it down below. It's about here-ish, I'd say. In the present moment, we'll talk about my reading journey later, but at the current time, I don't really tend to read that often. I tend to read new books most of the time, although I have started rereading more and I think I will continue to reread more a lot in the future because I'm running out of books and I have no income to buy more. So we're going to get to a point where I've read all my books and I will start rereading. I'm excited about that. Question 2, has that changed during your reading life? And the answer is definitely yes. When I first started reading, I had about 4 or 5 favourite series that I just reread over and over and over again. It was my favourite series of all time. I had about 4 or 5 that I would just circulate through. I loved these books series so much that I would just read it and then read the next one and then read the next one and then go back and read the first one and it would just loop. It sounds kind of sad and boring when I say it out loud, but it was so much fun. I loved those books so much and I don't care that it seems a bit weird. I just would read them because they made me so happy and I love rereading, so there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you do, that's great. All power to you. Also, get your money's worth, gal. You paid for those books. You're getting your money's worth if you read them over and over and over again. And if they make you happy, why the hell not? I did used to reread loads more than I do now, which I kind of miss. And like I said, I'm kind of getting back into a phase where I'm rereading more. Hopefully we'll get back to a stage where I can reread some of my old favourites because I haven't read them in a long time and I miss the old nostalgic feels of some of those. Maybe I should do that. Maybe that can be a series on my channel. Let me know. Question 3 is, when do you reread? Do you read it immediately after, years later, whenever the mood strikes? There's never a set formula for me. Sometimes I read a book and I loved it so much that I just want to start again, and sometimes I do. So I have done that in the past. I think I've done that with Harry Potter. I've done that with Michael McIntyre's autobiography, I think. I've done it a couple of times. It's usually with audiobooks. I don't know why, but when I listen to an audiobook, I'm more likely to go back and just reread it again or re-listen again. There's something about reading a physical book that makes you feel more guilty to go, and the end, and we'll start again. Something a bit weird about that, but for some reason when you're listening to an audiobook, you can just press replay and it doesn't seem weird at all. Is that a social thing? I don't know. Usually it's just when the mood strikes me, when I really fancy giving a book another reread, or if I'm feeling a bit down and I really want to read something I know I'm going to love. That's the best part about rereading. You already know you love that book, unless it can happen when you read a book and it's not as good as you remember, or you read something and your mind has changed because you've grown as a person, you don't like that book as much anymore. But with my favourite books, I know for a fact that I'm going to love it. Can you stop it? There is a dog barking. Can you hear? I know for a fact that I'm going to love reading my favourite books again. So if I'm sad and I just want to be happy and know I'll be happy, it's easy just to reread a favourite. And it's a guaranteed happiness, so that's always good. Question 4, why do you reread books? We've touched on a few of the reasons why, but let's have a real proper list of why I reread books. And there is a bunch of advantages to rereading. So first of all, the guarantee. It's a book you love and you know you love, you're guaranteed to enjoy it when you read it again. Most probably. When you're sad, you can go to that book and you know you'll be happy and you know you'll have a good time and you don't have to worry that it will be a flop. So that is the best thing. Dog, I swear to God. Are you lonely? Do you need a better owner? What is happening? Second reason why I love rereading is the foreshadowing. Rereading can be amazing because you see all the things in the book that you never would have seen the first time. I feel so sorry for people that just read a book and never go back and reread it because you miss so many things in the book. When you go back and reread a book, you see all the foreshadowing and the jokes that the author put in to hint towards what's going to happen. But because you didn't know what was going to happen that first time, you never noticed those jokes. And then when you go back and reread it, you see all the foreshadowing jokes, and I am a nerd and I love foreshadowing jokes. They make me laugh so much. There's a few instances where I've gone back and reread a book and been like, oh my god, they've hinted, I never For some reason, I just love that. It's so much fun to go back and know what's going to happen and anticipate and then read it from a different perspective. Because you read this book with a whole new view because you know what's going to happen, and there's so much fun in that, and I don't think that's appreciated enough in the book community. Reason number 3, I love rereading books to get your money's worth. I'm a cheap bitch and I love the idea of value and getting my money's worth. If I have purchased a book and I read that book 1 time, or if I read that book 10 times, guess who's getting more value out of their money? The rereader. Instead of buying new books constantly, rereading books helps you save money. That's always a good thing. Bet you didn't think about that, did you? Cheap bitch is here for you. Sorry if my camera just moved. I'm trying my best to film over this dog. I'm trying so hard to film in the bits where he stops. Question 5 is, how do you reread? Do you read it faster? Do you read it slower? Or just the best bits? Now, first of all, what kind of monster? What kind of monster just picks apart a book and only reads bits of it? No. Unless you're reading like a non-fiction, like self-help book or a textbook where you need to go to a specific article or topic, why would you pick apart a book and only read? No. I mean, you do you, but my heart could not. Not a novel, not a narrative. No sir, no siree. And I'd probably say I read it faster, not intentionally, but just because you already know the world, you know the story, you don't have to have your mind grapple the concept of what's going on. Just, you know, nice and easy to breeze through, but I don't want to speed read or skim. Oh no, because it's my favourite book. I'm not going to skim something I'm loving and enjoying. I don't want to get to the end quickly, because that's the whole point of the reread, is that I want to go back to this world and enjoy it. I just read it at a good pace. Just enjoy the reread. If you're going to reread a book, why would you skim? That just seems so pointless. You just might as well not reread the book at all. Unless you're trying to skim it for a review or something, there would be no point. Question 6 is, who or what do you reread? More specifically, so which authors, which books, which genre. Right, are you ready for the list? Because these are the ones that as a teenager I reread on a constant basis, on that loop we talked about. My favourite books are on this list, you know what they are. So Unwind, Mind Jack, Delirium, probably the top 3 I've reread the most. Harry Potter I've reread so many times. I've reread Michael McIntyre's autobiography a bunch, which is a random one. Hunger Games is another one I've read a whole bunch of times. Usually it's my favourite books. They tend to be dystopian series because that's my favourite genre. That's what I tend to reread all the time. It doesn't have to be a particular author, usually it's just a favourite series. Those ones are definitely the ones I've reread the most throughout my life. Question 7 is there a book that you found that was even better when you reread it? And I genuinely have no idea what to say for this question, because with things like Unwind, it was so many years ago I first read it, and I've reread it so many times since then. I couldn't tell you whether my first or second read was better. I don't know. My opinion doesn't tend to fluctuate too much. If I enjoy a book, usually the second time I'm going to enjoy it a similar amount. I don't tend to read something, go back and think, ooh, what was I thinking? Or read something and go back and be like, oh my god, it's even better. My taste tend to stay pretty similar, although it does change over the years, but it doesn't flippity flop around too much. And I cannot think of a book that I enjoyed more the second time around. Or question 8 is a book that was worse the second time you read it. And again, there's very few books that I've read and then have a different opinion on than the first time I read it. There's probably a few this has happened to, but it must be so minimal that I just don't remember. These are hard questions to answer. 7 and 8 are toughies. If I was to think of one that's maybe worse or less good in my estimation now than it was when I first read it, that would probably be the Divergent series, but then again, I think that's because of the decline of the series. So the first Divergent book I really loved and enjoyed when I read it, but now if I went back and reread it, I don't think it's as good because I think I know where the series is going, in the toilet. It's harder to invest yourself in a book that's pretty good when you know that its shelf life is running out. If there's one book that I think could fit that question, it would be Divergent, because I think the first book is good. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good, but I don't think it's as good now. That book has not aged well, and it went downhill, didn't it? Some books just have a bad age, like they age badly, and that is one of those books. And question 9, which book have you reread the most? This is a battle royale between two. I've reread Mind Jack a lot, I've reread Delirium a lot, but those two I've not read as much as Unwind and Harry Potter, and I genuinely can't tell you which one I've read more. I've read Unwind over and over and over again since I was probably 16, 17, I don't know. But then again, in the last few years, I've reread Harry Potter loads more because I've listened to the audio audiobook a whole bunch of times. Also, don't buy anything from She Who Must Not Be Named. I'm still loving Harry Potter by Gilderoy Lockhart, but I do not support it. Unwind or Harry Potter, I have no idea which one I've reread more, but considering I kind of want to reread Unwind a few more times. That one deserves it. Unwind is my favourite book of all time, so I'm leaning towards I've read that one more, but I really don't know which one I've reread the most. I couldn't possibly tell you. I've reread them both so much over the years, and they've probably just overtaken each other as the years go by. So I have no idea which one I've read the most, but it's one of those two. And that was all the questions about rereading. I liked this tag. It was simple. It was about a very specific topic, which I enjoyed talking about because I like talking about little topics within the reading community, and rereading's fun. And I think sometimes we get so lost because there's so many books in the world. You know, there is 100 books that I could want to read right now, and we're so obsessed with trying to read all of them, and there's too many. You can't possibly read every book that you want to read, and that's what stresses people out in the book community. I think it's that idea that you will never read every book that sounds good because there's too many. You'll never do it. Rereading stresses people out, I think, because the idea of reading something you've already read means you are wasting time not getting to something new. But that's kind of sad because there's nothing wrong with going back and reading something you know you're gonna love. You love it. Why not? Get your money's worth. Make use of your time. Read things you enjoy. You have to try and strike a balance, which is difficult to do when there's so many shiny new books that you want to get to. We tend to try and forget the ones we've loved and that we'd love to reread again. Remember your old books. I'm going to be doing a lot more rereading in the future because I have no money to buy new books. So I'd love to reread Unwind because I haven't read that in a while, surprisingly. It's been a while since I've reread Unwind. I'd love to read My Jack, Delirium. I always talk about these being my favourite books, but because I haven't read them in years, I've never really talked about them on YouTube very much. I did one video a million years ago where I talked about my favourite book. Most of you probably haven't seen that because that was pre when my channel actually had subscribers and stuff. You guys probably haven't seen that, but I'd love to go back and reread those favourites, maybe do like reading vlogs or at least like reviews or discussions on these books. Proper discussions, because I've never really talked about them. Well, I haven't done it currently. It's always my memory of the book from the past. I have not really reread them and then brought them to your attention in the present. So maybe I'll do that. I know no one will probably be interested in my favourite books because no one cares, but I love these books. If you're subscribed to this channel or if you watch me a lot, maybe you should be subscribed. But if you like me and my taste in books and the way I talk about books, then maybe there's a high chance you'll love my favourite books. And we all want to read good books. If you seem to like my taste, then there's a good chance you'll like my favourite books. So in terms of self-care, I think it's important to read my favourite books, and I'd love to talk about them more on my channel because I love them, and that's as simple as that. Thank you so much for watching this video. By the time this video comes out, I definitely will be on holiday this time, so I may or may not be replying to your comment immediately. I will definitely do it when I get home. We'll see how good my Wi-Fi is. By the way, I'm going on holiday in the UK. I'm not flying nowhere. No way, no how. Me and my boyfriend are just going to go up to Devon and chill out on my favourite beach for 4 days. It's not as exciting as it sounds, but to me, it's the best thing ever. Just me and the boy on a beach in September. We'll be surrounded by no one and it'll be great. Thanks for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it. I mean, like it or don't like, whatever. You do you. I'd love to have more watchers and commenters. Sometimes like 15 people watch the video and then I get like a comment or two. I'd love for more people to comment. I love reading and responding to comments. If that's you, consider leaving a comment. And if you're not subscribed, I hope you will consider subscribing. But this is YouTube. Everyone tells you to do it and no one does. So you do whatever you want. Thanks for watching and I will see you all in my next video. Next week's video is a fun one. It's another tag, but it's a tag based on a book. A very good book and a very good author. Her name is Jenna Perezi. It's gonna be a great video, so I will see you next week. Bye.